Okay, I decided to add another piece to this story after I said the chapter is concluded because I found this amazing article in the Washington Post today, November 26th, I suppose, or 25th. And it talks about the Swinomish tribe in Washington, off the coast of Washington state, in the western coast of United States. And they experienced a brutal storm in 2006 and decided to make a comprehensive plan, a strategy to deal with the effects of a warming planet. No IPCC report needed for them. No doomsday IPCC priests were there saying world is coming to an end and so on. And they did such a good job that now 50 other native tribes are following their example. This is a really incredible case of local sustainable action of saving what they love. Remember, the enlightened self-interest was about saving what you love, and their life and livelihoods over the last 10,000 years, as far as we know, they've been there since the end of the last ice age. They have relied on shellfish and finfish in the waters around them. Here is the map. So that's the Seattle area, and here is Skagit County, Swinomish Channel, and the Swinomish Reservation. They are known as the people of the salmon, and they have what is called a salmon ceremony, where they take one fish in a boat and do some sort of a ritual. And they say now the salmon have reduced so much that they actually buy a salmon, freeze it, and then take it. So here is a carving in their reservation representing a legend of killing native people and the sea at Deception Pass State Park on Fidalgo Island. Okay, so there is the Fidalgo Island, there is the sculpture. So they capture these legends in their carvings, which makes people probably connect more closely and directly with the nature around them, which is seen as a provider. It's not a dominion. They don't feel like they have dominion over it. They feel like they should be the stewards because that's their livelihood. And here is a young lady, Alana Quintascat. I think about my responsibility as an indigenous woman to my relatives. So she is proud of her heritage, and she takes it as a responsibility to the tribe itself. Okay, so they started several actions: rebuilding the oyster reefs, monitoring the deer and elk, and restoring native vegetation to manage coastal flooding. And we'll see that they even came up with a health index that allows them to track the changes and the state of the marine resources on which they rely. Okay, and in fact this is the region from which the harmful algal bloom story comes out as well. I think I mentioned it briefly in the context of Clarissa Anderson's chapter from the harmful algal bloom in the future world, or a warming world, where people go razor clamming in some months, I think in spring months, April to May, maybe around that time. And if the temperature gets warmer than 13 degrees, then the clams get infected by Alexandrium, or harmful algal bloom, which makes them unsuitable, especially to eat raw. People love to eat them raw, I suppose. And the number of months in a year over which the temperatures are crossing the 13 degrees is increasing because of global warming. So the number of days in a year where you can go razor clamming and then happily chow them down is decreasing. Okay, here is a picture of Taylor Studzinski planting willow trees in the Barney Lake Conservation Area to help restore the habitat for wildlife and filter storm water runoff. So these kind of wetlands are incredibly good sites for removing nutrients. They're also very rich carbon storage places, because these vegetations, when the leaves and other organic matter falls into the water, they are not immediately consumed, so more falls on top and they form peatlands, which over time can get sequester lots of carbon and so on. Plus they are also rich biodiversity hotspots. They are hotspots for migrating birds, and they of course make for beautiful ecotourism as well. Okay, that's kind of the natural solution we are talking about. And here is a Swinomish tribal elder, Larry Campbell, who helped create a health index that includes ecosystem health and social and cultural beliefs. So they figured out some of the traditional knowledge was lost, so they went to the university and got some expert advice, people who had studied the traditional knowledge and so on. And here is Swinomish tribe rebuilding the beds for the native Olympia oyster. This is the Sarah Grossman, a shellfish scientist for the Swinomish tribe, measuring oysters. See, she's got a little caliper in her hand to evaluate which areas make the best habitats. Okay, so how are the habitats themselves changing, which often depend on the brackishness of the water, the runoff, the clarity of the water, oxygen levels, and temperatures, oxygen, so on. Okay, this is Grossman collecting oysters in the Swinomish reservation. There is the chopper going by again. So this is the Swinomish tribe's pioneering climate action plan that was designed with many generations in mind. They're not only saving the resources for themselves and protecting against coastal floods and so on, they're thinking of future generations. This is an example of really, you can call it exalted self-interest, or saving what they love, or protecting their livelihoods and the beautiful nature around them. It's a great example of going local and getting personal. These people are experiencing change in their backyard and they're acting locally, and they're using resources of knowledge from the universities to make progress. They are influencing other tribes to join voluntarily. 50 tribes have started to follow these methods. They are mixing traditional knowledge with new knowledge, which is always important, and they are aiming for sustainable solutions. They want to put in place the solutions that will help the future generations, not just one, but many generations. So I wanted to put this at the end since I just found it, because I think this is an incredibly good example of good news on climate. I'm a little bit against this constant messages of how bad things are, because as I said before, it leads to climate anxiety. It leads to paralysis if people are aware of risk, but there is no immediate way in which they can act and so on. So we have to change our ways of spreading the message of the climate impacts by creating opportunities to act by getting personal and going local. This is a great example.